Hi, this is Ryan McQuan, and this is my assignment number 2 for distributed systems, my messenger application. Starting off in the main, which gets executed at runtime, we'll take in the arguments that are provided on the command line and throw them into the setup. This allows us to also manually put in arguments for manual testing. So we look over here at the setup. It takes in a string array, and we're going to attempt to check the size of the array to make sure it's greater than 0 but less than 3, since that will cover all the parameters of both the server and the client. For the server, if the first argument is 0, we check to see if the arg length is only equal to 1. If it is, then we prompt them for proper usage, saying we need -L and a port number. Otherwise, we will start the server using the port number that the user has provided. Otherwise, if we do not have -L as the first argument, we check to make sure that the argument length is more than 1, because that means they've provided a host and a port number. And we'll create a socket as such, using the first argument as the host and the second argument will be the port number. Otherwise, we just use the default host, which is the local host up here. And we would then use the port number that they've provided. We will then throw in that socket into the handle function. So let's go to the start server function. The start server function takes in a port, creates a server socket, and then throws in server.accept into handle, because server.accept will take in a socket, and so we'll throw that socket into handle. And so now we can look at this handle function, which will handle both the client port and also the server.accept port. So if we look at handle, handle takes in a socket, and we create an input handler thread and an output handler thread, which will handle the input and output for both socket and client on their respective ends. We will then start both of these threads. Let's take a look at the input handler thread. The input handler thread takes in a socket and creates a new data stream, which is from the socket's getInputStream method. The run method, which is called when we start the thread, will just constantly check for input that is provided from the other end of the socket. And so this will just print out all the input that is received through the socket. So while the input is not equal to EOS, since EOS is our end of stream signal, and while the socket is connected, we're just going to keep on printing out the input and just reading in from the data input stream. If we look over here to the output handler thread, the output handler takes in a socket and creates a new data output stream, which is gained from the socket's getOutputStream method. Also, run here overrides the thread run method. Run is also called when we call the start on the thread. The run object creates a buffered reader, which is created from the system.in, and so we're going to be reading any input that the user enters to be communicated over the socket. So while the output is not equal to null and while the socket is connected, we're just going to be writing out that input that the user has provided and outputting that to the screen. When the user has exited the program using Control-Z in Windows 10, then we're going to be writing EOS, which the other end will get as an input, and then both sides will then terminate. This guy will terminate over here, and this guy will terminate over here. Back to the handle thread, we're just going to join both of those threads, close the socket, and that is the end of my program. Thank you.